All right. True confessions time. I'm from LA. That's lower Alabama, for those that aren't familiar. And being from southern Alabama, I was raised by my father and mother, both of whom were born in Mobile, Alabama. And we've got a long history of Southerners in our family. And so a lot of the advice that my dad gave me as a kid growing up came with a lot of accent and a lot of ain'ts and y'alls and stuff like that, right? But one of the things my dad used to tell me when I was a kid was he used to say, if it don't feel right in here, don't do it. And I can remember my dad pointing at me with his finger. He had a finger, he cut the tip of his finger off when he was a little boy in the spokes of a bicycle. And so he's got this gnarly nub on the end of his finger, and he used to point that nub at me and say, if it don't feel right in here, don't do it. Which is another way of saying trust your gut, right? Your gut, your intuition, that nagging little voice in the back of your head that says, this probably isn't a good idea, or let's go for it, right? Gut, intuition. You know, Dad's piece of advice was given to me when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, but I got to tell you, almost everything in my life that I've done that I've regretted later didn't feel right here when I did it. And almost every time that I've done something and I didn't quite feel right in here about, it didn't turn out so well. That's probably been some of the best advice I've ever been given in my lifetime, is to trust my gut as it relates to making decisions, right? If it doesn't feel right in here, don't do it, because it means that it's probably wrong, right? It's probably against some sort of moral or ethical code or standard that you hold yourself to, or perhaps it's flatly wrong in the eyes of just about everybody. But, you know, we all have different moral and ethical standards, right? So what somebody else might think is perfectly fine, if it doesn't sit right with you in here, it will always nag at you and it will always bother you. So one of the best pieces of advice that was ever given to me as a kid, and I live by it now as an adult, is I listen to that nagging little voice. I listen to that little gnawing feeling in your stomach or in your gut that says, this isn't right, or this isn't the way we want to go here. And I'll tell you what, since I began listening to that little voice, my life has changed so unbelievably dramatically in just the last 10 years. I'm a completely different person. My life looks completely different. Learning to listen to that inner voice has been so transformational for me in my life. So I encourage you to do the same thing. When you're making decisions in business, personal decisions, when you're doing your taxes in April, you know what I'm talking about, right? No matter what you're doing, if it don't feel right in here, don't do it. And I'll tell Daddy Mac that you took his advice. That's the dose, guys. Have a great week.